All right, well, it looks as if all the participants who are joining us today have already joined. So the time is 2 o'clock in the afternoon here in Sweden. And I would like to officially begin this subject area staff Q&A webinar on the subject area of architecture and design here at Lund University. So I'm very excited today. We have 3 panelists who are program staff on some of the respective programs we have here in the subject area of architecture and design. And this webinar is part of a broader subject area week where we are focusing on the subject area of architecture and design through different content on our social media channels, a staff Q&A webinar today, and tomorrow we also have a Q&A with current students. So if you want to ask your questions live to some current architecture and design students, then you can also attend that webinar tomorrow as well. So just very quickly, here at Lund University, we offer 4 master's degree programs in the subject area of architecture and design. Those programs are architecture. We have a new program beginning in the autumn semester 2022, which is digital architecture and emergent futures. We also have a master's degree in industrial design, and we have a master's degree in sustainable urban design. And all of these are 2-year international master's degree programs taught in English. And we are very fortunate today to be joined by some program staff from these programs. So we actually have representatives from all of the programs that I mentioned, apart from sustainable urban design. So the format of this webinar will be a Q&A webinar. So if you do have any questions that you would like to ask to our program staff today, feel free to ask them using the Q&A feature, which you can see in the bottom of your screen, or in some cases on the top of your screen. So any questions you have about applications, the degree, career possibilities, feel free to ask them in the Q&A, and we will do absolutely everything we can to answer them for you. So without further ado, I would like to introduce our program staff. So first of all, I would like to pass over to Anna Persson. Anna, could you please introduce yourself? Could you please let us know which program you represent as well? Thank you.
Of course. So I'm Anna Persson. I represent the School of Industrial Design and our master's program there, which is, as been explained already, an international 2-year program. We are at LTH, meaning the Faculty of Engineering, but the program is actually an artistic one, meaning that you will receive a master's in fine arts. What else? Yeah, that makes for an interesting existence, if you will, on a greater scale. I am the director of the MA program, so that's why I'm sitting here today. That doesn't mean I'm alone in that. We are a core group of staff, very involved. I also teach, so if you end up coming here, you will meet me in a couple of courses at least. Yes, and I'm an industrial designer, educated industrial designer, who in a way said no to the industry because I believe, as many, that we have issues. So therefore I explore what we can do with the design processes further for a positive future.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Anna Persson. And I just realized that I actually forgot to introduce myself as well. So my name is Timothy Parker. I will be the moderator of the panel today, and I'm a communications officer at External Relations here at Lund University. All right. So Maria Rasmussen, if you would like to introduce yourself and the program that you work with.
Yeah, good afternoon. Very, very nice to be here, together with my colleagues, but also together with you, coming students, probably. Yes, who I am. Maria Rasmussen, I am architect. I am original from South America, but I have been living and working here in Sweden for many, many years. Actually, I started at the university and with this program, especially with this program, in 2014. I am today the director of the Master in Architecture. I have been working as coordinator many years. And I am very happy with the international students, must to say. Apart from having these responsibilities, I am also a teacher within the master courses. I teach in several of them, both design courses and theory courses. For example, advanced design, urban shelter, and so on. Yes, I think that is from me for now.
Thank you very much, Maria Rasmussen. And I would also like to ask Anna Goidea to introduce herself and her program.
Yes, hello. Yes, so I'm Anna Goidea. I'm currently a PhD student here at the architecture department at Biodigital Matter Lab, which is a research group that together with David and Dreen and a few other colleagues, we're doing research in architecture and digital tools and technologies. And I represent digital architecture and emergent futures, which is a new master that will start next year. But this is based on the spatial experiments specialization within the Master of Architecture that we had until now. So yeah, we work with digital tools and for both designing and fabricating, for looking for new ways of doing things, hopefully in a better way. So yeah, looking forward to your questions.
Thank you so much for that, Anna. And finally, we have one more invisible panelist today, my colleague Maria Lindblad from the International Office as well. And she will be answering some of your questions in the Q&A also. All right, so everyone who is attending, I can see we have 18 participants. Thank you so much for joining us. I would like to remind you that this is a Q&A webinar, so please do not be shy. The Q&A feature in the bottom of your Zoom window is there for you to ask any and all questions that you may have for our program staff. So please do not be shy. You can ask any questions that you want, and we will do our best to answer them. But before any other questions come in, I would just like to ask a question to all of our panelists today, and it's a more general question about the structure of the program. So for a student who is admitted to your program, what kind of courses can they expect? Will there be a component of research and thesis? Will there be group work? How will the program, what will the structure of the program be? And perhaps we can go the other way around this time. So Anna Goidea, we could perhaps start with the Digital Architecture and Emergent Futures program.
Yes, sure. I also realized I forgot to mention before that I've been involved with the studio spatial experiments from 2016 as a teaching staff, and also I've been doing research in parallel to that. So just to have that part clear. But yes, the structure is based on yes, we have 4 semesters. And we have a studio that is half the credits in each semester, and then we have a theory course and then an extra course. So this is like for the first 2 semesters, that's the format. And then the third semester, it dwells more into computational tools, and then so it's going to be 2. So a computational design studio, and then applied robotics, and then another computational studio, and then digital theory. And then the 4th semester is thesis project, which is led by the students, and then of course with supervision from us. But that's like an independently led research done by the students. And then the rest, we have group work for the studios, and then of course some individual projects as well, especially for the theory parts of the program. This is just a brief, the brief description of it, but yeah.
Thank you so much for that summary of the structure of the program, Anna. And Maria Rasmussen, could you give an outline of the structure of the master's degree program in architecture for us, please?
Yes, of course. And maybe I will repeat a little bit what Anna was saying, because we use the same structure in our school. So yes, we have like what we call the studio or the design course, which is 15 credits. And then we have a theory course that is very, very much related with that design course. then that is 7.5 credits. And then we have an optional, no, not an optional, a voluntary, no, an extra theory course that the students can choose more or less freely. And that is 7.5. And this theory course, I mean, the second one, the independent one, focus very much in research. So it's a way of preparing the student for, in the case that they want to study further. Then I must also to say that the courses, I mean, the courses within the master, they are not exclusively for the master students, in the sense that the master students, the international students, they are they study together with the other program that we call A program, and that is more or less more for the Swedish students. So they have 5 years program, and that means that the 2 last year of their program are going to be together with the international students. I hope that that was clear.
Very much so. Thank you, Maria, for that. And Anna Pearson, could you please give an overview of the structure of the industrial design program?
Absolutely. And first, I'd like to thank Maria and Anna, because it's actually a very interesting opportunity for me. We are in the buildings next to each other, but it's interesting to get an insight how you've structured it within your space. So for us, the fundament of the 2-year program is really to give aspiring designers a platform to shape themselves to the designer they want to be. This means that we do our best to build in a lot of flexibility into the curriculum. And similarly to the other 2 programs represented here, we have design projects that are the major part, ranging from 15 to 20 credits. So that's half or a bit more of each semester leading up to the last one, where it's the 30 credit thesis project. And in parallel with that, you have some theory courses, aesthetics, 3D modeling, and let's see, research methodology. And there is a 4th one, design management. And the projects, you are always the faculty, or we will come in with theme proposals or briefs, but then as a student, you're also always welcome to, no, that's not for me, I really want to pursue this. So we're here to support. We're not looking to make 30 designers off the same cookie cutting device. We want to make individuals or enable you to shape yourself.
All right, fantastic. Thank you so much for that, Anna Pearson. We do have some questions coming in from our attendees today, which is fantastic. Thank you all for asking those. So let's get stuck into them straight away. We have a question here from Pauline, who asks, do you need to do a pre-master for the master? I study right now building in a Bachelor of Building Engineering. So Pauline, that sounds to me like you're asking a question about the entry requirements for the program, which is very timely because we have program staff here who can inform us about that. So I think this applies to all programs as well. And perhaps Anna Goidea, we could begin with you. What are the entry requirements for the program? Are there any program specific documents or anything along those lines that applicants need to submit?
Yes. So for us, the requirement is, no, you don't need to do a pre-master, but we do need a Bachelor in Architecture as an entry requirement. And that is because we work with architecture, but we also go in more depth into some specific tools of architecture. So it's important to have like the language and the background of architecture in order to really make the most out of this.
Absolutely. And Maria Rasmussen, what are the entry requirements for the master's degree in architecture? I should also preface that statement by saying that all applicants to any master's degree program in Lund University must prove that they have English level 6, and you can prove this through a number of ways, through an IELTS or TOEFL test, or if you're from an English-speaking country such as the UK or Canada, or even in some cases like if you're from the Germany or the Netherlands, then you can prove your English through your secondary school education. There's a lot of different ways to see how you can meet the English requirements, and you can find information about that on the university admissions website. But there's of course program-specific requirements as well. So Maria Rasmussen, what are those?
Sorry, can I jump in? Because I forgot to just mention something, because that's just in terms of degree, but we also have the requirement to submit a portfolio of works where we can see the background of the projects. And yeah, so that's just additional to having a bachelor degree. Yes.
Perfect, thank you so much. Maria?
Yeah, and that was what I wanted also to add, that is the portfolio is quite important for us, because we choose between the students with that present the portfolios. So it's not only just to have the Bachelor in Architecture. And I must to say that we receive, and when I say we, I will include also the program that Anna Goidea is starting now. We receive around 400 applications, which are not complete. Because usually they forget the portfolio or they decide not to deliver. But around 400 applications where we receive 300 that are complete. That means that we need to look into around 300 portfolios. And there we will choose the students that we decided to accept.
All right, thank you so much for that, Maria. And Anna Pearson, what do students need to be aware of?
So actually, we open up. Of course, it's important, as Anna was saying, having the language and understanding of industrial design. But we have chosen not to, in that sense, design and architecture is a bit different, because buildings cannot fall apart, and there's not there's a different degree to certification. So you could actually come have you need a bachelor's, but then you need to prove in your portfolio that you have design understanding. But this you can have theoretically gotten on your own through reading. So we are, once you have those, the papers you need to get through the computerized end of the application process, we only look at the portfolio. And there we're looking for you to, we want to see how you think, what you want to achieve, why you want to come here, how you perceive us. And in the end, it's at least a two-way thing, because we won't accept you if we don't see how we can contribute to you. So very annoyingly, I read in the pre-questions in a way that what are the most common questions is like, what do you want to see in the portfolio? We want to see you and the way you work and your potential. And the easiest answer there is that there's no checklist, there's no magic thing. It's if this comes through, we see it.
Okay, thank you so much for those detailed answers.
That could be magic, I guess, but so.
Absolutely. So we do have another question here from who it also relates somewhat to entry requirements. So who is very interested in architecture and design and would really like to shift her area from business to the area of architecture and design. However, her the bachelor degree and previous education has nothing to do with architecture and design. So is it okay for her to apply to one of the master's degree programs that we're talking about here today? Or do any of the panelists have any suggestions for what she could do to start? So I'll leave this one open to any of the panelists. Would someone with a degree, a background in business be able to apply to your programs? Or would they need to take another bachelor in that area before they become eligible for the master's program?
Well, if I may, or
yes, please go ahead.
I think from the answers from Maria and Anna, there you need to then pursue an architecture degree before. With us at the industrial design, as I was saying, that we are open to this. Of course, it is more challenging to show that you have the capabilities and to make what should I say, make use of the program, but we are very much in this. It can be valuable for students with a design background to mix with somebody of your background. So the advice would be to really do research of what and beyond magazines, if you will, if you have own work that you've done on the side, that you really do a good analysis of what you believe design to be and what you want to do with it. And then it makes, then you can also gauge if what you need to do is maybe pursue a bachelor's in it, because of course that is a way to do it too.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for that answer, Anna Pearson. And we do have, yes, if anyone, Maria, Rasmussen?
Yeah, I could
yes.
complement, because maybe with the other master program that we have here at our school, maybe there is a possibility, and that is what we call the SUDES program, Sustainable Urban Design, because they open a little bit more for other kind of bachelors.
Perfect. Thank you so much for that recommendation. That's fantastic. And we do have some great questions coming in here from our attendees, and we will be able to answer all of them. However, there's one other question that I would like to ask our panelists first, because this question will cover a lot of bases. And that question is, what kind of, and you have already answered this a little bit in some of your previous answers, but what kind of applicant or what kind of student are you looking for on your programs? What type of interests or backgrounds, or what type of characteristics are you really looking for, and what makes a successful student and a successful applicant? So Maria, Rasmussen, perhaps we could start with the architecture program.
Yeah, I guess, I mean, this master is very, very much within the design, I mean, within architecture and design of architecture. So we look for students, for applicants that have very, very good skills in design. When I am saying that, we look in portfolios that maybe are quite diverse, that show different scales, for example, show different kinds of projects. But also we look into applicants that in somehow with their projects, they are challenging the society. So a little bit of maybe, I mean, very creative, innovative. It can be technological innovation or social innovation. We look also, it can be utopian projects. I mean, projects that in somehow push movements in the society, that push the paradigms and try to look for other solution and better solution, and also that copes with the society today, if I can say so.
Fantastic. All right, thank you so much, Maria Rasmussen. And Anna Goidea, what type of student are you looking for your program?
So for our program, we're interested in students with a good background in architecture and strong design skills, so that are also interested in developing their skill into something more, let's say, that is right now at least a little bit of a niche, right? That means using computational tools for design. So that I think it's great if they are interested in technology and what can it do for architecture and what can it do for society. And I think also that it helps to be open-minded and curious about it. We encourage a lot of experimentation and testing. So if you're interested in trying to look at architecture in different ways, some more bottom-up, starting from material research, starting from some working with new technologies. So yeah, and I think it's important you don't need to know these things already. So you don't need to feel like you're an expert in technology or have a really, good programming skills. Of course, if you do, you're welcome as well. But you don't need to have these skills already, but you need to be interested in learning more and using them for architecture.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. And Anna Pearson, what type of students are you looking for on the industrial design program?
Well, I was considering this. I can, you don't really say that, but sign under everything that has been said already. There's a lot of common ground there. I'm thinking more towards the students that seem to thrive the most once they get here. They are already at a stage in life and within the subject area where they are very comfortable with the uncertainty, to not expect to be fed everything, that it's not a program as in you're programming a student and blah, 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 you'll end up woohoo, a finished product. That you come in with a drive. That doesn't mean you need to know where you're going. Actually, you shouldn't, so to speak, but you can have an area of interest, or you can have just this open-mindedness and curiosity, but you should be prepared. And in that sense, for some students, it's a big shift coming in from a bachelor's, where a lot of stuff needs to be packed into a certain amount, in some cases just 3 to 4 years. And so how we like to frame it is that the master's is when you get time to reflect upon that knowledge and bring it further. So if you come in expecting, you have faculty that are there to support you, to engage, but you are as much inspiring us as we are. That it becomes for every, now I'm ranting, but you can see it as scaffolding. You start out in kindergarten, first grade, and you have a lot of scaffolding around you. Eventually, by the time you're at university, most of you have chosen yourself to be there, hopefully. And more and more responsibility to learn is on your shoulders. And I would say by the time in your master's, arguably already in the bachelor's, but by the master's, you are really in the driver's seat, and that you should be prepared for.
Yeah, I really want to second that. I think. Sorry, Maria. I think that's also very important for us. I think it's important to be self-driven, right, and motivated to learn, and because not everything will be fed the same way that it is, in earlier education. I think there's a lot of openness for exploring topics of interest and kind of pursuing and crafting your own version within the tools and kind of the playground that we set up for you. But in order to really succeed in this, it really helps to be motivated and to be able to also learn by yourself and have initiative. Yes.
It's daunting, but it's also super. It's such a great opportunity. But if you don't feel you're right there, we really encourage you to take a break between the bachelors, do an internship, test a bit. The worst thing you can do is just join to get another 2 years in safe towels. Yeah. Sorry, Maria, I interrupted you.
Maria, you had something to say as well.
No, I just wanted to add also something that for us is very, very important, because of course, we look into the application, the student and the portfolio as something individual, but when we have decided more or less who are we going to say yes for, then we look also the whole group, because we want a group that is quite diverse. And when I say diverse is that they come maybe from different geographies in the world, different cultures, and so on, different ages also. People that maybe have had a good experience in working, some years, of experience. And why we do that is because we want to create a kind of, a studio, a group of of students that that inspire each other, that they come. I mean, when you come from different perspectives, we have the idea that creativity increase. You see the world with different glasses. I mean, so that is also part when we take the final decision of we think in the group and we open again for diversity.
Yeah, and respecting dynamic, and this you can always can keep it in mind and encourage that working together, but it's not really directed here to any of the questions, but just the one of the greatest things that you'll have, and that I think is any scenario, but we really make it in our backbone of the education, is this the student body, your little class of 30, but also the rest of the people in the school. And that's the biggest asset that you'll ever have.
Fantastic. All right, we have quite a few questions coming in from our attendees today, so I would like to also get back to them. We have a question here from Aurora. It's a little bit of an interesting one. Aurora is interested in both architecture and industrial design and would love to study both. And eventually, she says, eventually, hopefully I will. But in the meantime, is it possible to participate at least as a listener, for example, to the industrial design courses and studios? So I think what Aurora is asking is that if Aurora was admitted to the architecture program, would Aurora be able to attend some industrial design?
Should I try to? Yeah. Well, you won't find it in writing anywhere that you can do this, but in anything, I'm very much about under the radar things. I would say your biggest chance to do it in a way. I mean, it will be tricky to do, like getting credits, for instance, we can already park because that administratively will be not happening. But to involve yourself in, for instance, the student guild and get in contact with the industrial design students. I mean, if you make friends there, there's nothing stopping you from being invited to listen in to stuff. So in our program, we very much always ask our students to reach out to other expertise within the university. So we can't, it doesn't make sense for us, for instance, to have a course with the chemistry department because not everybody's interested, but we've had several cases where people have, for instance, worked on new materials. We had one with the cocoa husk, and by themselves, they reached out to people with the knowledge, and people are always happy to share what they are passionate about. So I can at least say, Aurora, you can contact me. We'll figure something out.
Yes, I think the good, if I can just jump in, I think it's really nice that Lund University is such a, it's a big university with so many faculties and so many subjects. And I think in academia, people are generally quite welcome to reach out and collaborate and help people. So although you probably are not able to, as Anna said before, like take credits from different at the same time, but you're able to reach out and, for example, for literature, for books, and perhaps even collaborate on some research project with design faculty or with, from other departments like chemistry or biology or other departments.
And again, is this about being driven? So we don't set limit, we won't limit you. So if you would, for instance, reach out or make contact with design students and find somebody, hey, I have the same thing towards architecture, you together can make some sort of like, okay, we have this course, let's, do it in parallel. Only I take my credits here, I take and influence each other. That's exactly actually what we are looking for, I would say.
Exactly. And for like, this is not specific to this question, but in general, like our course, we actually coordinate collaboration. So with the robotics department at Automatic Control. So we have a course where we are teaching applied robotics for architects, but at the Automatic Control department, and we are planning on collaborating with engineering students from there to work on projects together. So this is at the intersection of robotics, programming, and architecture.
Fantastic.
And we're actually dependent on students who want to do these crossovers also, because that's really the most effective way to do it.
Fantastic. And I'm just wondering, Maria Rasmussen, is there anything else you would like to add here on collaboration?
Yeah, maybe just to point that, Lund University is a governmental university. I mean, it's not a private university. And because of that, it's a quite open university in opposition to private universities. So saying that, I mean, we have lecturers within the courses, and if you talk to the teachers, then you will be for sure included in the big lecturers. Then being part of the courses, that requires a little bit, that can be a little bit complicated, because I think that both in the industrial design and in the architectural, we have a very, how do you call that?
Like compulsory courses, not so.
Yeah, but quite individual education. I mean, we have tutorials, for example. They are one teacher, one student, or maybe two. So it's quite individual. Then saying that, we have also, and I know that industrial design also we have some what we call the symposiums. They are open for everybody. I mean, any people in the street can come to our open symposiums, conferences, and that is at least twice in a year, where we have one complete day with these conferences, and sometimes we open for others. So opportunities to learn from the industrial design, the architecture, that will be possible. Yeah.
Fantastic. All right, we have another question here from Pauline. I think I can actually answer this one. So Pauline is interested in the Masters of Architecture and Design, so a number of our programs. And Pauline asks, do we need to search for a house by ourselves, or will the university give us some options? So if you are an international student who's coming to Lund University from outside of the European Union and you're admitted to studies, then as long as you apply for housing on time, there is something called the housing guarantee, which means that Lund University guarantees that you will be given university housing. We know that that can be quite stressful if you're coming a long way from outside of the European Union. So we really are proud to provide that service to our international students. But if you're coming from within the European Union, there will not actually be a housing guarantee for you. So you will have to look for housing on your own, which of course is very much possible. So when you're admitted to studies, we will provide you with all the information you need to be able to find housing. So
glad you answered that one.
Nothing to worry about there, although the only thing we do say is when you're admitted, it always pays to start your research early on when it comes to looking for housing. All right, so we do not actually have a program representative from the Sustainable Urban Design program, so I'm not 100% sure if we will be able to answer this question. If not, my colleague in the back end, Maria Lindblad, can leave the necessary contact information in the chat, but I'll quickly like to throw it out to our panelists, and that is, what kind of master's degree does a student get when they graduate from the master's program in Sustainable Urban Design? And is there a Swedish name for the degree? Are any of our panelists able to answer that question? It's completely fine. If not, that's okay. So Maria Lindblad in the back end, if you could perhaps put the contact information in the chat for the program coordinator for the Sustainable Urban Design program, then Embla can look in the chat. Embla can find the email address there, and Embla, you can send an email directly to the program coordinator, and they will be able to answer that question for you. All right, moving on to the next question from Kevin. Kevin asks, hi, is there a website with specifics about who are the teachers of particular lecturers? For example, the full list of professors for the Digital Architecture and Emergent Futures program. So Kevin, first of all, I would like to mention, and this applies to all of our master's degree programs actually at Lund University, that if you look on the program page on our English language website, you will find a very detailed summary of the content of the program, as well as information on how to make a complete and correct application to the program. There is also a PDF document, a fact sheet, which you can download, which has a rather concise summary of how each program is structured, but I'm not 100% sure if you will be able to find on that fact sheet or program page a specific list of lecturers and the exact lecturers that are going to be teaching every single program. So Anna, Goidea, Kevin is asking about your program. Is it possible to find that information?
Yeah, I'm not sure that there's like a, as you're saying, there's a lot of information about the course, but not the full extent of everybody that's involved in the full course. But I can tell you about the main group that we're teaching. It's me, it's David Andreen, who's the head of the master program. There's Ellen Down, who's also involved now currently in spatial experiments. Anton Johansson will be also involved with the robotics, and then we have Pablo Miranda. And then there's going to be Anders Robertson from the robotics department, and then we'll have for the thesis, they'll also be opening up a bit, so you can also have tutors from the staff here as well as us. So yes, it's not an extended full list published on the website, but hopefully this gives you information about who we are.
All right, thank you so much for that, Anna. And the next question is for Maria Rasmussen. So Pauline again asks, I'm studying a bachelor in building engineering, and I chose to specialize myself in architecture. Does this satisfy the requirements to be admitted to the Master of Architecture? A lot of questions about entry requirements, but I guess that's what people want to know about.
Yeah, it's I think that it becomes quite specific for this student. We will need to look into, I mean, which kind of bachelor is, which, because I know that, I mean, some universities, they give a title as Bachelor in Engineer with focus in Architecture, for example. So we will need to look specifically in this, with this student.
Okay, all right. I really like this next question, actually. It's from Singh Iqbal, and it's for Anna Pearson. So Singh is currently studying in high school and is considering to join the industrial design program. First of all, Singh, I would like to point out that this is a master's degree program, not a bachelor's degree program, but I'm sure you know that and you're just planning for the future. First of all, you will need to complete some kind of bachelor's degree to meet the entry requirement.
Sadly, I would love to be able to admit you without one.
Exactly. And Singh asks a very good question here. What should I consider for making my portfolio catch your eye? What are the skills I should sharpen to get comfortable with before I join the program? Anna Pearson, could you give some insight?
First of all, Singh, if you got Swedish skills, you are welcome to apply to our bachelor's, which we're trying to make international, but so far it's only Swedish. So I think it's already great. You're already showing and making me interested in you, that you are in high school and actually attending already this seminar for MA programs. There is not, and that we're not looking for you to stand out in a fancy way or we're looking to see you. So the skills that you find super interesting, I mean, the design process is super broad and very few, if any, I would argue, are not the same person is going to be a super good researcher in a phase one as the sort of hardcore skill-based person who's actually refining the product to go into production. So find your passion. We want to see, that's essentially it. If I would give you one keyword, it's your passion, what you're passionate about. And this shows through. Don't try, and that goes for anyone, and I would say in any subject area. Don't look as much externally for what to put in your portfolio. Trust yourself, be true to what you want to do, because otherwise that's how you do things well. So And you will, if you know to look for it, you will know when you have that feeling that this is where I'm good at. Then that's not to say that you can always challenge yourself. I mean, I, for instance, took extra 3D modeling courses, but then finally came to the conclusion, I'm going to work on having really good friends and colleagues in this department, because I'm never going to be on the level which I would want to be. But I do know where my strengths are. So respect your strengths and weaknesses, be honest about them, be humble about them, and don't try to be something that you're not.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Anna Persson. And this is a very good question about how you can make an eye-catching portfolio that I would like to ask our other panelists as well, because I think it really does apply to all of the programs that require a portfolio. So Maria Rasmussen, was there any tips that you had for making an eye-catching portfolio for the master's program in architecture?
Yeah, maybe I should start saying that it's not only me, the only one that look into the portfolios and evaluate the portfolios. We are 3 persons. So sometimes it becomes also personal. But I will maybe, I mean, I was saying that, for example, having a portfolio that include different scales. I mean, small project, big projects, a diverse, a portfolio that doesn't include, I am going to say, high-rise housing exclusively. I mean, different buildings. No, include different kind of projects. And maybe you have a school, you have a little house, you have a house in the countryside. I mean, include different kind of projects. Then saying that, please do not just make a collection of projects. I think that you need to have a kind of intention within the portfolio. So what, yeah, so it kind of, it can be a narrative, it can be a chronological developing of your you as designer. It can be, yeah, something I think that both Anna Persson and Anna Goidea were talking about, the identity, you as designer, show your identity. And then maybe another tip that I can give is, when you make projects which are in groups, present them, of course, but tell us, what did you do in that project? And in the same sense, if you present some projects that you have been working, because we have, as I say, people with working experience, if you present some projects, please tell us, what did you do in that? I mean, what was your role? Because sometimes you arrive with amazing projects from amazing companies, but we know those projects, believe me. So it's very, very nice that you tell us, and it can be that you make the layout, or you make the renderings, or whatever. Tell us. It tells also about you being quite honest with your work and respecting the work of the others. So that to me is very, very important. I think that in somehow it's like you need to stage a kind of message within the whole portfolio. Again, not only a collection of projects. I like very much to have some of your first design, maybe from the first year, the second year, because then we see your progression within the portfolio, and we see your progression as designer, but also we have a kind of idea, and I think that Anna Persson was talking about that. How can we contribute with your education or with your skills? Is really something that we can contribute.
And Maria, thank you so much. You said so many great things that also applies to us. Yeah, and I want to say, because I realize it sounds like, so it's not that it's all about the individual, but I believe for you to make good things in the world, you need to be in a way anchored in yourself, and it needs to make sense for yourself. Then only you can put that out there, and trust that we see these things. We see many portfolios each year, so we know in a way what to look for. And I realize, and I know how enervating it is to hear this, that you don't get a specific answer, but that's also in a way the key. So And also things like, I now thought of the word eye-catching. Recognize that, so everything you do communicates, everything you put in and everything you choose not to put in. But it's also, but please also consider that graphic design, since this is going to be in a sense, a graphic document, that's its own art form, that's its own, so don't pretend to be a graphic designer if you're not. Then rather keep it simple. You see the text up here, it's Helvetica, nothing more, nothing less, and focus on what needs to be seen. You're guiding, test your portfolio, test what it says to other people, and also connect it to really different programs have different identities, and you can also have that in mind. How do you communicate to what you see in us? Yeah.
Fantastic. And Anna, Goidea, was there anything you would like to add here as well?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I think just want to reiterate that I think it's super important to write, if you've been in a group work, what it is that you've contributed with. This is just crucial. And I think just specifically maybe to us, I think, or maybe not only specific, but I think it's important to see a range of projects, ideally. So instead of having one project, we've seen portfolios with one project and many, many pages about it. I think show more a variety of projects, different scales, different. We're also interested in kind of also models that you've been doing, and don't restrict to only having polished, finished renders, but show a bit of the process behind and the evolution of the design.
You guys are so good.
Thank you. Yes, and I think because for us there is a focus on technology, right? For both fabrication and for designing, there's no requirement to know this already. Again, as I said, but I think if you are interested in this, I think there's a good chance you've experimented with it, you've played with it, you've tried it on your own. So I think just to show a bit, even if it's limited, even if it's just like some quick tests, I think it's good to know a bit the level, to show through project the level that you are with computation and programs. So have that in if you're applying for us, and then so we know, yeah, based on your other projects and kind of just breeding to the portfolio, just to understand how, if you'd be able to kind of really get and learn the things that we are, yeah.
And don't force each project, because typically you will show projects. Don't force them into the same format necessarily. It doesn't need to be 3 pages per thing, and here's this and here's this. Use the different projects to communicate different skills. So this was really focused on this. Exactly. Put some keywords. You can always put writing, but it needs to be, consider that the poor jury is sitting there with 300 portfolios. So it needs to work both in the click, 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 click thing, but then it's like, that's interesting. Then you want to be able to find out more information. So if there's a hierarchy of information, portfolios is a skill, and don't get super scared from it, but be strategic.
All right,
and intentional.
Thank you for those top tips on submitting an eye-catching portfolio. We have 5 allocated minutes left in this Q&A webinar, and we do have a few more questions to get through. So we'd like to give a correct, but hopefully slightly quicker answer to these remaining questions, if possible, just so we can look to finish around 3 o'clock. So we have a question here from, it's also okay if we go a few minutes over though as well, no big deal. We have a question here from Moritz, and it's for you and a person about the Industrial Design Masters. What kind of resources are available for students in terms of workshops and workspaces?
You get a workspace, there's studios. Each class of 30 have 2 rooms, 15 spaces in each, and hopefully the pandemic is done now, so you can be there as much as you want. There are workshops which we actually share with the architecture, but they're beautiful. Always a scheduling issue, so be prepared for that. It's not going to be super smooth, but you can, as long as 8 o'clock in the morning is the tip-top tip to get them. Yeah, computers and stuff, and then of course the university. But those are yeah.
Perfect. Thank you for that. And Maria Rasmussen, would you like to briefly comment on the workshops and workspaces available for architecture students as well?
Yes, of course. And I think that I will include Hannah Goidea because we have what we call the studios. That means that each student have its own place. That means a table and a locker. What else do we have? And yes, have some computers that you share within that studio, and some space to meetings, to make models, and so on, so on. And that is within the studio. But then we have many workshops. Anna, help me. We have workshops with ceramic, for glass, for wood, for paper. And we have those that are more connected to your specialization, the 3D printer. Maybe Anna, you can.
So we have a wood workshop in the architecture building, and then we're sharing the metal workshop with the industrial design program. Although it belongs to the industrial design, architecture students have access to it. And then we also have we have a 3D printing workshop in the architecture building with plastic printers and large-scale printer, and also clay printers. And then there's also 3D printing workshop in the industrial design with SLS, more kind of advanced metal printers and things that go through a staff. But our workshop is more direct student access to the machine. And yes, I mean, we have a spray room and cutting paper and things like that.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for that.
And we have a very nice library where we are very, very proud of, because it's quite specialized.
Fantastic. And Aurora has also left another comment. So she just wanted to clarify that Aurora is actually applying to architecture, but would love to listen and learn and exchange knowledge with fellow students to get other opinions and perspectives as well from other professors. It's just credits are not so important. It's more a question of interest in Aurora's case. And Aurora also notes that she will be definitely contacting Anna once she's there. So
just be prepared that I'm really awful at answering mails, so send another one if I don't. It's not personal. I just own that.
All right, and Singh, who asked the question before, has also just left a comment saying that he hopes the university opens an international bachelor's program in industrial design. Maybe that's going to be on the cards in the future from what Anna Persson has said, but not in autumn 2022.
Now the university moves in, it's not the fastest place to do these things, but it is our ambition.
Well, it sounds like it might happen in the future anyway. And we have another question here from Allison, who asked, is there a chance of someone who just recently graduated with a bachelor's degree to get accepted into a master's program, or is work experience a requirement? That's a great question, Allison. So I'll throw this one open to all of our panelists. Do applicants need to have work experience, or can they come straight out of their bachelor's degree? Perhaps Anna Goidea, we can start with you.
Yeah, no, it's not a requirement at all. So you can definitely apply straight after a master. You can also take your time and work and get some work experience. That's a good thing because it does give you a different perspective and a greater baggage of knowledge and experience that you can use to play and get in depth more in the master, but it's not a requirement.
Maria Rasmussen?
Yes, I think I will answer the same. You don't need any work experience. I mean, you can come from the bachelor directly.
Same answer. I would only again say that make sure that it's what you want, that you're hungry for more right now. And if you feel like a bit burnt, relax, then take some time. It's pros and cons.
Yes.
Can I add something to the question of Aurora?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, because I mean, within the architectural program, I mean, you have quite defined, more or less defined term. I mean, the first term looks like this, the second and the third. But within the fourth, when you start the thesis, they are maybe a student as Aurora can be quite motivated to work together with the industrial design. So maybe the thesis becomes a kind of combination of architecture, but working
have a supervisor in industrial design, for instance.
Exactly. Yeah. And it can be very
That's
strong reasons to make a very innovative project.
I mean, this is just fun for us, right? So then you would have, I would say the way that we would do it is that we would suggest a primary supervising in architecture and then the secondary one in industrial design. And we're so close. And just like reaching out, it's really, I can't iterate that enough. If you are interested, ask.
Yes, and usually, I mean, we try to, how can I say, to enjoy and to use the opportunities that the university give us. I mean, the Lund University. So we try to come across the different faculties and be more interdisciplinary. So I think, Anna, I think that we will love that kind of a student.
No, I would like, yeah, no, super. And that is really true. The thesis is where you can make it more formalized. Otherwise, it's more, you need to be a bit agile and be prepared to not get credits here or there. But I think in general, everybody is longing to do this, right? It's just the formalization that it's sometimes getting tricky.
All right, fantastic. And we have a final question here from Embla, who asks, is it required that the portfolio is in English? So I would first like to add one point here, which I already mentioned. So Embla, all of our international degree programs that we're talking about today are taught in English. So you will need to prove that you have the required level of English 6, and you can read about that on the university admissions website. There's a number of ways to prove that, but we'll have to throw this question open to the panelists about the actual portfolio, if it needs to be in English, because I'm not sure if it's more about the design skills or.
It needs to be in English. At least for the architect. We have made some exceptions with some Swedish portfolios, but that is not the case. English is what we required. All of the education, as Timothy says, is going to be taught in English. Lecturers, you need to write papers in the theory courses, you need to read literature, and so on, so on. You need to communicate with your your classmates. That will be in English. So sorry for that.
No, I mean, I wouldn't say it's not that you'll get, it doesn't actually, if I'm fair, it doesn't say in the portfolio instructions have it in English. Technically, a portfolio can be only pictures if you're really good at the communicating with pictures. But as I said earlier, all decisions communicate. Everything you do is communicating. So if you send a Swedish or other language portfolio to an international MA program that is going to be taught in English, of course, the jury will be a bit questioning, and then it really needs to stand out. Then you're putting a hurdle for yourself. All
right, Anna, good. Anything to add here?
Yes, no, the same. I think it makes sense it's in English since you're applying for an English program.
Absolutely. All right, thank you for clarifying that. So the time now is here in Sweden, 5 minutes past 3 in the afternoon, which more or less brings us to the end of this Q&A webinar, focusing on the subject area of architecture and design. So before we finish, I would just like to remind everyone that there is some very useful information that you can see in the chat if you have not already seen it. So down the bottom of your screen, you can see the little chat feature, and there is some very useful links in there to give a very specific answer to some of the questions that you have asked today as well. So thank you to everyone that has attended the webinar today. We had many fantastic questions, and I would very much like to thank our fantastic panelists for their very insightful and detailed answers to those questions and for making a fantastic presentation about their respective programs. So before we finish up, I would like to give each of our panelists a final opportunity to give some concluding thoughts about any final tips for applicants or any final tips for why people should come and study your specific degree program? So we'll start with Anna Persson.
Well, it's tricky not to see who I'm talking to, but I'll more do it for life. This is important choices you're making. Life is short. My mom just had an old-time friend die on Friday. Do something that you want to do. If you have the opportunity and the privilege, do it.
Thank you very much, Anna Persson. And Maria Rasmussen, some concluding thoughts from you.
Anna, please go ahead.
Yeah, sure. I could do that. I can see that there's one last question that is kind of a little bit addressed to me, so I'll just try to answer that and conclude at the same time.
So thank you for bringing that to my attention. So
No,
yes,
of course.
Anna, go ahead.
Yes, because Gediminas is also part of our teaching team. He's teaching creative tools, and I think for sure you can, if you're interested in learning more about these tools, if you're interested in programming and digital computation, 3D printing, digital fabrication tools, and want to use these to shape architecture and to kind of make it more sustainable and more fitting to the demands that we have currently, I think you are very welcome to apply. You don't need to have these skills already, but if you're interested, curious about this, willing to learn, and then of course to kind of put maybe a higher threshold in the beginning to allow yourself to be a bit confused in the beginning and to put in the hard work to catch up and learn, I think for sure you can do it. And if you there's still some time, you play around with some tools, follow some tutorials just to get a bit of taster if this is what you are interested in doing for the next 2 years. But for sure, I think it's I think it's a really interesting and fun program that is challenging, but also really rewarding. And you get to learn a lot and kind of see a new way of doing architecture. So yes, I encourage you to apply if you are interested too.
Thank you so much, Anna Goidea. And Maria Rasmussen, some concluding thoughts from you.
Yes, I think that I will conclude in maybe repeating some of the words of my previous students, because when I asked them, I mean, how was the experience? What did you like it at the school and so on? Why did you apply here and so on? So one of the qualities that they were talking about is our environment. I mean, it's a friendly environment. I mean, we have like more horizontal relations between students and teacher, between college, between the students. They told me it's quite friendly. And then of course, I mean, we teachers and students know that we have responsibilities within that friendly relationship. So we take care of that responsibilities. And another thing that the students, I actually for not very long time ago, when I asked the previous students, okay, when you move around in different places, working places, it could be in Amsterdam or in Paris or whatever, what do they appreciate from you being an alumni from Lund? And to my surprise, what they say is that, yes, we have learned how to work in group. Exactly. And of course, yes, and of course in offices, in architect offices, nobody works alone. Nobody. So this, and I guess it's also part of the society, the Swedish society, because you are used to work with work achieving a consensus. So you train yourself to discuss and to agree, discuss and agree. And the student says that it was that was one of the skills that the Swedish or the Lund students did have. So I was quite surprised, but also quite happy with that extra. I mean, it's not only the design, it's not only but it's something else that they can bring into the offices. And one of them says, sometimes the offices I have in, they look for Scandinavian or students that have been in the Scandinavian or in the Malmo, Lund, because they know that they can this work in group, teamwork, team building, respect dialogues, and so on, so on. So I think that was what I wanted to repeat from my alumni.
Thank you so much, Maria. And thank you so much to all our panelists and attendees today. I wish we could stay and talk longer, but I'm sure that we very much could. I would also like to thank my colleague, Maria Lindblad, who's been in the back end of this webinar, providing links in the chat and answering some of your questions as well. But a final thought, final piece of information, here at Lund University, we are now open for applications, and the final day to rank and select your programs is the 17th of January 2022 for studies beginning in the autumn semester of 2022. So we are now open. Now is the time to apply. So we wish all of you the very best in making your application for studies at Lund University. Thank you so much for attending today. I wish you all the best of luck with your applications. Bye-bye.
Good luck.
Bye.
Bye.
Good luck.